Graham Potter could be set to return to his old club, not to manage, obviously, set to return to his old club to try and get Adam Webster back as cover in central defence. I think the first time you hear this, it's pretty underwhelming stuff, really, isn't it? Webster's, funny, I think he played in the FA Cup game recently, but by and large, he's not been used too much by Hersler at Brighton this season. He's very much seen as a squad player, a bench player. But that being said, you can understand why Potter might be interested in this player and bringing him back. And I think I certainly don't poo-poo this kind of stuff anymore. I think back to the video myself and Gio did. I think we were live. It might have been a transfer special over on the main channel, and myself and Gio were live at the time, and it became abundantly clear that West Ham were about to sign Craig Dawson. And well, I was relatively underwhelmed, it has to be said, and I think there was certainly a lot of people who thought, well, why are West Ham doing this anyway? He turned out to be an amazing player, didn't he, for West Ham? A great player, and we were sort of all gutted when he left. Funny enough, he might be having his contract terminated at Wolves, but that's the story for another day. But he was really, really good at West Ham, and I think in terms of pound for pound, you might argue one of our better signings in the last few years. I think that's not even in doubt, is it? So I think when I hear us linked with somebody like Adam Webster, who is a bit of a journeyman, really, isn't he? I think, okay, it might not be the worst thing in the world. I doubt it'd be too expensive, and you've got to look for the reasoning why we might look to bring a player like this in. So the rumour, it's funny, sometimes rumours are so vague, they're almost unbelievable, but this rumour came with a little bit of meat on the bone. I think the link to Webster is obvious, because obviously they've worked together at Brighton, and obviously performed really, really well under him. But when you start to look at the defence, you look how bad the defence have been, and what Potter's had to do to try and get a ramshackle group of players together, with Vladimir Soufal playing at centre-back and Aaron Cresswell playing at centre-back, and poor old Max Kilman has on a lot of occasions been the only recognised centre-back there. When he hasn't been, when he's had a partner next to him in the back three that Potter likes to play, has been Konstantinos Mavropanos, and Mavropanos has been a liability. It's a weird one because he's got all the attributes and all the minerals to be a good central defender. He can be very dominant in the air. He's certainly got the ability to do good blocks, do tackles. He's quick enough. He can bring the ball forward. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is with Mavropanos, he can be quite calamitous, and he is just error-prone. He is, I don't know whether it's concentration or clumsiness or a combination of the two, but it's not been great. Anyway, so from what we hear is that Potter has now said, right, enough's enough. He's looking for another central defender. West Ham were looking for another central defender in the window, but nothing actually happened. But so it looks like he's grown tired of Mavropanos. Mavropanos will, well, he'll leave if someone buys him, but Mavropanos will not be, almost first choice replacement, which is what, as I understand it, what Webster could possibly be. So I've still not really figured out what the end game is in terms of the defence. I know Potter's going to play three at the back. Max Kilman's been playing at central defence, at centre back. But he's definitely got the ability. He's left-footed. He could play on the left side of a three. He could play there. But maybe Potter will keep him in the centre, which will bring us on to Nathan Gerrard, which we'll discuss in a second. In terms of the right centre-back, well, it's obvious at the moment is Todibo. Now, there's been a little bit of news with Todibo as well. Todibo could play on the right centre-back, but you do get an inkling that he would quite fancy playing Aaron Wan-Bissaka there as well. So if we were to go in for Webster, do I believe that Webster would necessarily be the guy to come in and hold down a regular first-team place? No, I don't think that would be the case. But he'd be the first one off the bench. And I don't mind. Honestly, I don't mind doing that. I think we've probably got to cut our cloth accordingly. And we're going to have to raise some funds in January, which will bring us on to Jean-Clair Todibo, because there's been, a suggestion that we might look to flip the player. But just on a Gerrard, before we discuss Todibo, there was a lot of meat on this bone of this rumour with Graham Potter that he wants to get rid of Mavropanos, and not only that, bring in Webster, and possibly give Nathan Gerd a chance in pre-season. Now, that doesn't surprise me. We've discussed Nathan Gerd, did a video on it 2 or 3 days ago on this very channel, and we discussed that possibility. And if you listen to that video, you'll know myself and Gio were discussing it. I mean, Gio is certainly of the opinion that he's not ready for the Premier League, and there are a lot of people that think that Nathan Gerd doesn't suit the Premier League. To be fair, I don't have a massively strong opinion on it, but I still think it could be that he was just asked to defend too damn much under David Moyes. And, you know, the parking the bus, the low block, the conceding loads of possession to the opposition, I think you become quite error-prone anyway. And I'd always thought that, I used to say it, when a Gerd would play well for us, I always imagined that I could see a Gerd playing well for a top team, where you're just not under the cosh all the time. Look, I guess we're not going to know. But anyway, Graham Potter is apparently happy to test that out and see that if in January that if Nathan Gerd can impress. If he does, then you would imagine Nathan Gerd is the left centre-back. Max Kilman plays at centre-back. Then someone else plays at right centre-back. It may not be Jean-Clair Todibo, though, for reasons I will go into in just a second. Before I do, today's video is sponsored by Stocks FC. Stocks FC is basically the footballer's stock market, which allows you to buy shares in players. Got a little update for you from the last time that I did it. And I have now bought some shares in Marcus Rashford. So my portfolio is growing. I've got James Ward-Prowse. I've got Jarrod Bowen, who's already making a profit on Jarrod Bowen. His share price has risen, as has Wissers. I've bought James Ward-Prowse, as I said, Marcus Rashford as well. And I did actually go and see if I could get some in Evan Ferguson, but he's not available yet. And I think he'll be available in the near future. So you've got to keep your eyes on it, because they release players, and then once the stock is gone, it's gone. It's only available for a few days. So if they were to sell thousands of shares in a player, then that's fine. But if not that many people are interested, they'll slam the door shut, and there could be a very finite. Well, there's a finite number of shares on each and every player, but some of them have 20,000 shares. Some of them have got 6,000-7,000 shares, so they become a little bit more of a hot commodity. I've certainly learned a lot more about it since I've been doing it, and we're going to give you the opportunity to play Stocks FC, but by doing it for free, because by using the link below or the QR code that's on your screen, you'll get 5 loan players for a month, which means you can actually make a profit on them if they get involved in Team of the Week or score a goal or make an assist or anything like that. It gives you an opportunity to learn how to play it. And then if you think it's something you like, then you can do what I do, which is spend a couple of quid here or there on this player, build up your portfolio, and just have a little bit of fun. As always, you've got to do this stuff responsibly. Make sure you bet and gamble responsibly. The link is in the description below. Please do use it, the QR code, rather than just searching for it on Google or the Play Store, because at least then they'll know you've come from Hammers Chat, and we get a good thumbs up from them. Jean-Clair Todibo, he is... Well, the rumour is that he could be flipped. There was a lot of talk in the January transfer window that we could get rid of him to Juventus. We never could have done that. We don't hold the permanent registration for the player. He is only a loan player. But we have an obligation to buy him at the end of the season as long as we're not relegated. Well, I think it probably looks like, even though David Moyes is overtaking us, well, that's not good. I got nothing against Moyesy, but we don't really want them above us today. Let's be perfectly honest with you. Anyway. We're not looking at under threat of relegation, and because of that, we'll have to pay £35 million for him. Now, I think he'll play really well under Potter. I think he'll be a good player. I think he'll play really well in the back three, actually. I think he was absolutely chaotic, complete and utter chaos under Lopetegui, the defence. So I don't think you got to see the best of him, but he's a top-level player when he's at his best. That's why Juventus were after him in the first place. That's why he signed for Barcelona. That's why he's been capped for France. He's a very, very good central defender. Graham Potter said in his pre-match press conference ahead of the Brentford game that he was back in training. He was going to be with the squad as well, but he didn't think he'd be fit enough to start. But that means he's close. He's close to playing in that team. And what with Crescencio Somerville being injured, whilst Potter might fancy playing Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right central defence, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to be playing a right wing back, and he's doing an absolutely grand job there at the moment, isn't he? So I think Todibo coming in at right centre back, I think he's going to do a really, really good job. But we're going to need to generate funds in the summer. to bring players in. And if we can flip Todibo, then the suggestion is that we will do so. Now, I do wonder, I think if he really, really impresses, then, well, two things are going to happen. Number one, we won't want to get rid of him. And number two, there's going to be more clubs who think, oh, actually, let's go and get that player. But it is 35 million. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know whether it's 35 million pounds or 35 million euros, but whatever it is, we got him above Juventus because Juventus couldn't afford him. So there is, I guess there is the chance that we could immediately lose money on him. If that's what we were going to do, get him in, buy him, pay for him, flip him, get him straight out the door. Is anybody going to match what he paid for him? No, I think we'd almost immediately be making a loss on him, which is sort of like the bad old days, really, with West Ham. I sort of hoped we were beyond that. I still think the most likely exit in the summer is going to be Mohammed Kudus. I think there was a point. Look, there's still a lot of time left in the season, and anything can happen with both those players, both with Kudus and both with Todibo as well. But I think the time when we were just worried, and it was a damn certainty that in June of 2025 that someone was going to come in and trigger the release clause for release clause, may sound like Santa Claus. Basically triggered a buyout clause for Kudus for 85 million. I don't think anyone's worried about that anymore because I'm not entirely sure there's a whole queue of players ready to pay £85 million for him. Because his form, he's this season's player, and you can offer up all the excuses in the world, but even if you have offered up all the excuses, it's still there. It's still the case, even if you say, oh, well, he didn't do well under Lopetegui's system. He was playing on the left wing. He got suspended. They're all legitimate excuses as to why he's not been as good this season as last season. You still come to the conclusion there's probably not as many teams ready to pay the big bucks for him. I'm not sure there's anyone coming in and saying to West Ham, bang, there you go, laying £85 million on the table. A big table, isn't it? And walking away with a player. But I still think he's an asset, and he's an asset who we paid, whatever, £35 million for. And if someone comes in with 50 million, I still think it gives you money to spend, money to play with. So I still think that's the most likely exit. It may well be that we get rid of Kudus and Todibo, and there is a little bit of money in the pot, clearly, because we were trying to buy a striker in the transfer window. So maybe that's how we get Graham Potter gets 130 million to reshape the squad in his image. But yeah, I just thought it was really, really interesting. So certainly not much of that will go on Adam Webster, who obviously is 30 years of age. By the time we would look to get him in the summer, he would have a year left on his contract. So he's not going to command a massive amount of money as well. Clearly there's, not just because of Potter, because of this Ferguson deal, there's an open line of communication between us and Brighton. So you'd imagine it would probably be an easy enough deal to get over the line. But yeah, I thought very, very interesting, very detailed rumour that was, that West Ham are going to go for Adam Webster. We're going to get rid of Mavropanos. We might flip Jean-Clair Todibo, and Nathan Gird's going to be given a chance to impress in pre-season. So yeah, all interesting. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. It's match day.